Good evening and welcome to ViVoices. I'm your host, Clint Ferris. Emil Henderson is off this evening, and joining me this evening is Miss Yoki Hanley. Also missing is Boyd McFarlane and Miss Anne-Marie Heiliger Hector. Well, Miss Hanley, welcome.
Thank you.
And I have to say thank you for sitting in for me a few weeks back.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure? Okay, yes. Good, wonderful. Well, this evening, I would like to begin by giving my take on the state of the territory, because I was missing from the show, and it's very imperative that I offer my point of view. Now, let me say this first. I tend to be a bit biased towards this administration and this present governor. I don't support his administration for whatever reason, because I don't believe he has the best interest of the Virgin Islands. But our good governor said 7 years ago, he had several themes for his administration: poverty, crime, correcting the limited access to health care, creating job opportunities, eradicating the corruption in government, and improving on our failing schools. And if I was keeping score, which I am, he failed in all of the categories.
Miserably.
All.
Miserably.
And you say miserably?
Yes,
and
miserably.
And you're right. Corruption is still rampant in government. Schools are failing and crumbling. Our infrastructure in the schools, I mean, students can be making A's, but if the buildings are falling apart and they're taking days and days off just to repair the physical plant, our schools are failing.
Yes.
Where are the jobs? I don't know, because people are fleeing the Virgin Islands. Limited access to health care. Do we need to say more? Wang F. Louis.
The clinic.
The clinic. Don't talk about crime. A major theme of this administration is crime, crime, crime. The most telling thing is, in this one State of the Territory address, he did not mention gang violence. It seemed that gang violence is no longer the in thing. And poverty is still rampant in the Virgin Islands. Just speak to the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands. Every year when they do their assessment, our children are living more and more in poverty. So, Mr. De Jong, I give your administration a D. Not an F, a D. I give you some efforts for trying, but you get a D.
Let me ask you where he tried.
He tried by making some good appointments. He did try to appoint some people, however, but I think he basically negated their influence and their capabilities by keeping his hand on the steering wheel and on the brakes.
So he didn't realize that micromanaging was not the thing. Now, when you hire a commissioner or whomever, that you're supposed to relegate authority to them.
And that's what a governor is. A governor is a macro manager. And he did not allow himself to be that macro manager. He had his hands in everything. A great example is Wang F. Louis. The board decided on one course of action. He stepped in and he changed that action. And where's Wang F. Louis today?
In a pile.
Yes, in a pile of, we don't want to describe it.
Right.
But they're shoveling it every day up at Wang F. Louis. So we know.
The same with the schools.
Same with the schools.
It's interesting that you see now they have a situation where they have two of the top producing math teachers on St. Croix that were fired.
And who were they?
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Ms. Bonica was one of them?
Yes.
Ms. Bonica, I heard of Ms. Bonica's termination.
And another one. And now we have this situation now where there is a little bit of a squabble, because the Board of Education is saying that Superintendent Malloy was out of order to fire them because he didn't have the authority.
Technically, he does have that authority.
Well, according to them, it's only who signs the NOPA, which is the Commissioner of Education, and the governor who has the authority to fire.
Okay.
He can do whatever disciplinary action may have been needed for whatever infraction they may have caused, because I don't know what the infraction was, you know, but I still find it strange and interesting that in this time when we're finding it so hard to get good qualified teachers, and we need to have students that are performing, and you have two teachers who are at the top of their level, that you're going to let them go.
And that's the challenge. And that's a challenge in terms of we don't have the right people in the right places. And we continue, and that when politics reign the day in government operations, I mean in terms of actually the execution of getting the job done at the bottom level, we then have a problem. And we will continue to have that problem, because it's not about what you have, whether you have a BA or what, but it's if your name is this name or that name, and how much fish you fry. And no, it's still the same thing in
And
Virgin
then,
Islands
and then
government.
who suffers are the children. You know, there's the old African saying, when two Africans fight, the only thing that suffers is the grass.
Correct, but if you take a good look at this administration, there have been a lot of contraction in services. And think about the services that have been contracted. Think about services to the elderly. We have lost a lot of those services. Services to the children, services to the impoverished, services to the homeless. So we continue to lose a lot of those services, and we are now then passing that buck on to the not-for-profit organizations, and they too have lost their funding from the government and from the central government. So we have a problem here. So I said, Mr. De Young, I cannot wait for January when we say, c'est la vie. Say adios, 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 Mr. De Young.
So long as whoever we put in does not continue the same asinine policies
and you know,
that have been instituted.
Ms. Hanley, we're gonna head down the road. We're gonna head down the road. We're gonna follow a path, because I think we're gonna need to discuss some of the possible candidates in the upcoming election, because there's a hubbub of activity taking place. Because this weekend is fair and races. And everybody gonna be out there.
Yes.
T-shirt there, T-shirt here. I just want a free T-shirt to wear. And that rhymed. So, but think about some of the issues we need to think about when we voting for elected officials. Let's talk about infrastructure. Let's look at our roads. We continue to talk about our roads. And what do you have to say about that? Are we making any improvement in?
We're not making any improvement, because like I tell people, I have a relatively brand new vehicle that you hear me before you see me. That's how bad these roads are.
So shake it?
Shaking alone?
Wow.
My suspension, I tell you, I announce my presence at least a half a mile before you see me. That's how bad it is, you know. And I want to congratulate Senator O'Reilly in saying that not only should we not be doing the patch jobs, but we also need to look at drainage, which is very important, and proper sidewalks. You know, because if we don't have that, especially the drainage, you're doing all these patch, because I personally feel that they're doing all these patch to make sure that they're going to still be able to have work 6 months down the road.
But you know, the ironic thing about it is, it's like in cycles. Our government operates in cycles, because this discussion have been had ever so often.
Every crisis.
And you see that when they did that road between Peter's Rest and Contentment, they put some sidewalks in, but some place else they left sidewalks, and they had to dig up the road twice. I had to make sure I put that one in. And then the bypass, they have sidewalks. And it's a good recreation road. But do we really in the Virgin Islands want to do things in that holistic manner? Because we still got to do the patchwork, because if you think about it, we also hear an argument from Commissioner Darrell Small saying we need now to have a dedicated fund for road maintenance and road and
what
road
are the road
construction.
taxes for?
And that's it. What is the road taxes for? Are you telling me we collect all of these taxes that are earmarked for certain things, and we don't make sure that we at least direct some of those funding to those tasks?
And let me ask a question. This may be a dumb question, but I really believe there's no such thing as a dumb question. If Hovenza collects the 14 cents road tax from the wholesalers when they're sending it out, the wholesalers then in turn send it to the retailers. And now when you go to pump gas, it's whatever the price is plus the 14 cents. So the gas stations are collecting that 14 cents. So how many times is the government actually collecting that road tax? I'm just curious. And if they're collecting it that amount of times, you know, then why is it really that our roads are in such a state of disrepair? I remember one day coming right there from Kingshill Post Office under the stoplight, and I saw this woman and her child fighting to go across the crosswalk to hit to the other side with a stroller. And they're struggling with the stroller because now they hit the end of the road and it's mud they're going into. And so now you see the two of them fighting, the light changed, now people going now and they're holding up traffic. And I'm saying if they had sidewalks where it was accessible for those who don't have cars or who may choose to walk from east to west, north to south, so that people could walk, I think we would see, you know, a better flow of traffic all around.
So basically, you're making my point for me. You just said public transportation, that would fall under public public works, gets an F or a D because...
No, I would go with an F.
No, because think about it. When you talk about public transportation, think about the roads and our public transportation system of Vitran all being connected. Roads, public transport, all of it is one system. We haven't seen any new Vitron buses, but as this administration is
St. Thomas.
no, but as this administration is making its way out, brand new buses are coming.
To go on these bad roads?
And these bad roads.
Oh,
so we are seeing that all of it is connected. That at each level, we are not doing the people's business. We are collecting user fees at the DMV, at the BMV.
To go where?
Thank you. And we are not seeing them in our roads. But the Commissioner Smalls did mention that we are doing that the bypass. No, Governor De Young mentioned that we have completed the bypass
After 30-some years.
But again, he didn't start it, so he used the word we have completed.
After 30-some years.
He never said he started, he completed.
Yeah, after 30-some years.
So that's a loaded word, but he's giving himself a pat on the back that he did something, he completed the bypass.
Okay.
And he's now finally working on the Melvin Evans Highway. That little stretch right there. And we know Melvin Evans Highway, that long piece of beautiful road that Tomians love to come and drive upon. So what's going on with that? See, and so we see that there's a major disconnect here. So we're providing services to the people. This administration has not followed through on.
At all.
So we put that one down as roads. Now, we also wanted to talk about the Farm Bill.
Yes, the 2014 Agricultural Act that President Obama signed into law, I believe it was either Monday or Tuesday passed. Now, this is of great importance to us, especially in the area of two areas really, but the main one is with food stamps, the SNAP benefits. We're looking at, the Republicans wanted to gut food stamp by $80 billion. There was a compromise reached and it was done to $4 billion. So they're going to be cutting, well, $4 billion, 5 years, they're going to be cutting $8 billion over 10 years. So it's going to be an $800 million cut every year. We here are, especially on St. Croix, a severely depressed economy. So when you're looking at an $8 billion cut to food stamps, it is the working poor. Now people have this conception that it's, you know, people on welfare is the majority of it. No. You have the working poor, people who are working minimum wage, and probably even some people, especially here, with the extremely high price of Whopper, you know, making a somewhat decent salary of even maybe even $9 to $10, depending on your family size, still relies on food stamp to feed their family. So what's going to happen to them now?
Correct. But so let's put it into into numbers. So if that $4 billion represents 25% of the actual food stamp budget, that means that 25% will be distributed over all localities within the United States.
Exactly.
So right now we do about $52 million worth of food stamps through the Department of Human Services.
Right.
So if we do look at that 25% cut, so you're talking at least $10 million at least off the top.
That's gone. So you're going to have families have reduced income for food, and some who will be dropped altogether.
Correct.
You know. And you have also with it as well with the Agricultural Act, you have where they are now restricting where illegal immigrants will not be able to get, lottery winners, traditional college students, and the deceased. Now, for all, I don't have an issue with any except for the traditional college students.
But what about the deceased? They mentioned the deceased.
I don't know.
How the deceased don't get food stamp?
I guess they come in to go feed the worms. I don't know how they get in it to begin with.
I know as soon as the person then they reported the worm, the money back.
Exactly.
So I
can't help you with that. But that was put in there.
I guess the dead Republicans are going to collect food stamp then?
I guess so.
Okay then. Go ahead.
You also have where they are banning or prohibiting collecting food stamps in multiple states. I have no problem with that. If you go, you can't be living in Iowa and you're collecting in Florida or wherever unless your case is following you. That's a different story.
That's where I'm trying to say. If
right.
the case follows you,
that's
then
different.
You should not be denying.
Right.
No problem.
But you can't be, say you have residence in the two places and you're still collecting. Yeah, because that's a scam and a racket. And I'm trying to remember the last.
It's because our people don't start to do it. They start to get wise at it. No, honestly. No, because they do it with other things. They do that with SSI. And all that stuff. If you're down here, you know full well you can't follow you down here.
Yes.
And then once they find out, bam, it gets cut off.
Immediately.
So what's going on? Those things could have been done administratively.
I agree. And on top of that, they also have where they are prohibiting the USDA, who administers the food stamp program, the SNAP benefits, from advertising via radio, television, newspaper, or any way about signing up for food stamp.
So Thank God we are on the internet and we don't get advertisement dollars from Snap. But think about it. The radio station are also going to be affected.
Yes.
The radio. So this is a wide-reaching bill.
Yes.
It's really touching all facets of our community because basically you're saying that we cannot actually recruit and reach out to people who are already depressed or impoverished.
And may need this assistance. So, and I mean, the people like, oh, you have the age of the internet, but not everybody. You have a lot of people that are still afraid of the computers and don't understand how to use that and realize that, you know, you can go there to actually find help. So those who may need to have the assistance will never know because they are not getting that information anymore.
Actually, I think they know full well what they're trying to do because, I'm going to say this, I work at the Department of Human Services and every day I see people that can't read out nor write. They don't use computers. I have gone to First Bank and one particular morning there was a gentleman, I went to get money out of the machine and the gentleman was standing right there. No sooner than I took out my money, he asked me, can you assist? And we have people like that in our community. So we are also creating a vulnerable situation for our people each and every time. So I think it's more so, again, to keep kicking the poor people down and to stick it to our good President Obama. But we don't have the vote yet in Congress.
They put a little saving grace in where they said that the cuts that they're taking from the SNAP benefits, they're going to be given to the farmers to help increase the food banks. So now the farmers are happy because now they're able to keep their land and to continue producing. So that's supposed to be, I'm going to assume, the silver lining on this whole rainbow in terms of the SNAP benefits.
But think about it. Think about where the pig farmer is North Carolina. Think about the potato farm in Idaho. That don't represent you and I. What they're going to be doing is dumping all those products and us in the Virgin Islands in the form of surplus that they give out every 4 months at charge at Emmanuel School.
Unfortunately, most of them don't usually be substandard. They just barely, you know, I mean, they still have some nutritional value, but it's not like, you know, you can go and get the cream of the crop there.
So it's furthermore substantiating why they precipitated this action by further removing the school lunch program out of the territory by making it, by subcontracting it. We have all of these pre-prepared meals coming into the territory.
And that's something where, especially education now, where we now can hopefully begin to build up our own funds and help our own farmers in having our own local foods be placed in the schools to help shore up that deficit that we'll be having with school lunch.
But what it basically says is this, that within the next 12 months, this administration has some work to do with the Department of Agriculture. Because they keep talking agriculture, and they know full well
they have
agriculture is fashionable right now because it's ag fair time and everybody talking about agriculture, and after the week is done,
they forget about it.
Thank you. So that means we have to make a commitment to really diversify our agricultural industry and be committed to agriculture to make sure we can start to reap some of these benefits from the Farm Bill.
Right.
And make sure our farmers are no longer subsistence farmers, but are small business operators who are not growing all a month on a crops, but maybe 2 or 3 cash crops. And you're also showing them, because I read an article that we're talking about canning and all those different things.
Processing.
And maybe we need to start to do all of that and see for how we can develop a market for those processed goods within the Virgin Islands and the wider Caribbean.
And we have that capability. I've been noticing one particular store in the territory, you know, grocery store, that
West, East, North, South?
West, because I live west.
Okay, I know the store you may be talking about.
That was bringing in coconut oil all the way from the Philippines. And we have coconut knocking dog here for style. And they were bringing in 1 a week, you know, to test the market. Then it ended up to like maybe 5 or 6 bottles. Then they ended up with shelf space. Now they have pallets of coconut oil coming from the Philippines. Why is it that with all the coconut trees that we have here and the coconuts all over the place, that we can't have a processing plant now to go and I'm sure this store would be more than willing to purchase it because that would cut a substantial cost for them in terms of shipping.
Ms. Hanley, we're gonna delve into that topic when we come back from break because that's a very wide topic because it goes back to the Snyder administration time and we will discuss that. So we're gonna go to break and we'll be back shortly.
All right.
Good evening and welcome back to ViVoices. And tonight I'm your host, Clint Ferris. Emil is off, and joining me is Miss Yoki Hanley. And Miss Hanley,
yes,
right before break, you were talking about processing.
Yes.
And how they were one particular supermarket is bringing in coconut oil, and we
From
have
the Philippines.
Philippines, and we have coconut knocking dog. And why aren't we producing it? Go ahead.
That is the question. Why aren't we producing it? It's like the simplest and the quickest of almost any fruit or nut oil to produce.
But think about this. We have the University of the Virgin Islands. We have the Department of Agriculture.
The Land Grant University that doesn't do much.
No, but you see, but that's where the charge begins. They do the research in terms of AES. Cooperative Extension Services do the practical application and connect that research with the community and share that research with the farmers and the gardeners and the small business owners. And then the Department of Agriculture, again, has its role in there as well. So again, there's no connection between none of
There's
that.
a disconnect.
A major disconnect, because this is the same university who years ago wanted to build a research and tech park and farmland. This is the same university who has yet to grow to its full potential, but continue to pay its president a large sum of money, and its faculty and professionals are underpaid. So you see, so there's a major disconnect right there.
You know, the problem, what I'm seeing is that people are feeling that any kind of business or industry within agriculture is beneath us. And it's so, you have the huge corporations, like even though they're GMOs, but like Monsanto and Conagra, who are billionaires, and those two companies alone control like about 90% of the food supply in the world.
Let me give you a good example. Good example. We live in the Virgin Islands. Fair time, carnival time. Food, roast pork sauce. For the amount of Muslims, Adventists, Rasta, vegan, the first thing to always go is your pork.
Yes.
Another big mover, plantain. And you're telling me we can't grow plantains to sell here? We can't grow raise pigs and develop our own kind of ham nor bacon to resell and find a niche market for that? Again, it takes the leaders, and the leaders at agriculture. We love some of those leaders, but at a time they don't take the risk. They're not pushing the envelope.
And that is the
they come before us and keep telling us agriculture is underfunding. But what do? You continue to
underfund it. So then
you.
you're killing it. So you can't be talking agriculture and you're not putting the money there. And that, as well as that, you see, we plan. You always hear the expression: if you don't plan, you plan to fail if you fail to plan, right? I feel we have become experts at planning. We've been planning since Jesus come. That's how I feel. We've been planning since then. And we can't seem to implement any kind of plan. How many millions of dollars have we spent on this study and that study? And you mean to tell me up to now that we can't put forward, look at this and say, okay, this is what we're going to put forward now?
That's how we grease the wheels of our campaigns.
Okay then.
But we won't go there. But if you think about it, let me give you a good example of showing you a major disconnect. EDA. Is EDA or SBA? I think SBA is on
EDA. Yeah, SBA is
on the EDA. SBA has some small business programs, and they also have an incubator program over by...
That's EDA.
EDA.
Yes.
Over by the industrial park. However, and their incubator program works with small business so they can use resources out at the
William Roebuck
Park,
yes.
Industrial Park, and keep the cost of business low, and they can just share resources. However, there's not an incubator program for farmers that you can do processing or any of those agricultural things. And I hope that the senators can impress upon the EDA and the SBA to do those kind of things.
That's going to take a major change in leadership and a major change in thinking. Because speaking from somebody coming from a manufacturing background, the focus on this government is not with manufacturing at all. It is with service, not even self-service, with the financial industry, with anything that can bring down any heap of money or whatnot. You know, and we need to realize that each island has its own unique offering that it can give. And we here in St. Croix can really help and sustain light manufacturing and different types of manufacturing. But the EDA is not set up where it can really help those kinds of people.
So you're trying to tell me our government is focusing on a financial market which is like reverse osmosis.
But that's what the governor said several years ago. That is not his focus. His focus is not on manufacturing because he doesn't see that as money.
But if you think about it, the only thing the governor knows is finance.
Okay.
But we can realize he doesn't really know much because look at how abysmal things have been with all the deals that have been generated by his administration.
That's been cutting us off at the knees.
Correct. But if we talk about EDA, we talk about SBA, let's talk about the PFA. Because they're all connected. Because if you think about it, you talk about the dog and the tail and all of that. Sometimes we don't even know which one is the dog and which one is the tail, but we're going to try our best to figure it out as we go forward. But the PFA, which is also the Public Finance Authority, and they're charged with also helping us float bonds and creating this
for capital improvement projects
correct.
And so forth.
But where are they in all of this?
That is a good question because they've been like literally non-existent for how long?
But hold on, they're non-existent.
Well, they haven't been saying or doing anything.
Think about it. PFA owns the hotel in the Kings Alley Hotel.
Yes.
You own that?
They own the Frederickstead Mall in Frederickstead.
Correct.
That is not even being used to its full potential.
But honestly, think about that. How do you design a building like that? I mean, they won't drive it. And then think about how they have. There was this plan prior to this administration coming in to really revamp the whole of Frederickstead, redo Paulie Joseph Stadium, build a permanent festival village and all that stuff. And yet the plan has not even been executed to its full potential.
It not even executed. They threw it away. Because I was one of the many Crucians that sat down on the charrette all those many moons ago, that when we sat down, we said, okay, we are going to do the permanent festival village. We're going to have a regulation-sized baseball park where we would be able to attract the either in the minor leagues or the major leagues when they're on vacation or however it is. I'm not a baseball fan, but when they come down and they need to do their winter break, they would be able to do it here, as well as our regulation softball, because softball is like, that is our thing here for softball. So we could be able to now host these tournaments properly when they come.
Just like
they did the part for Frederickstead that they had to do, and then all of a sudden everything disappeared. Next thing you know, you hear they're getting involved with strange companies that, you know, looking to swindle you out of everything to do what?
Nothing, but think about the millions of dollars that were invested just to bring the community together, to discuss what they want, and then you just like a piece of paper, crumble it up and discard it.
I mean, you're showing that you have no respect for us.
But and that's it. Not just but respect for the legacy of the people who came before and really created something that we can build upon. And to this point, we have yet to do what we are supposed to do. And we do. Like, for instance, I have a friend. And I asked my friend if he was going to Food for the Soul concert. And I'm going to have to big up the promoter because they're doing a good job, because I am going to be going to support. And he said he's not going to support. And I asked him why. And he said, so I've made a statement. And I said, just that's the reason why? And he said, no. He said, Clint, I don't care what they use the ballpark for, but they're not even using the ballpark for what it was intended for. It was a ballpark. And they are not committed. It's condemned as a ballpark. But how can you then say it's
every other function
can be held there? And I said, you're right. I understand your logic, and I'm glad that you're standing up for what you believe in, because not many Virgin Islanders stand up for what they believe in. The only thing I asked him, he said, make it a public protest. Let people know that they're not just protesting in silence, but you're protesting publicly about what's taking place, because he's correct.
But you know the issue with that, with protesting, which unfortunately, and I don't know how our people got to that, but you have them and those that feel that once you speak up or against anything in this government, that you are immediately labeled anti-government, that you hate the governor, you hate everything, and you're against progress. And that is so far from the truth. What I have been seeing is that there has been a concerted effort to try to keep our voices quiet.
Hey, this Republican governor, has borrowed from the Republican playbook. Trust me. Remember, I told you half the year.
I could have sworn he said he's a Democrat.
This is reminiscent of the George W. administration. If you disagreed with George W. Bush, you
anti-American.
Anti-American.
And that is what
you like the terrorists, and this is the exact same thing taking place in the Virgin Islands. They marginalize you and throw you to the wolf, and then try to do what? They try to basically
the blacklist you and lowball you, and that is so wrong, because we as Caribbean people, it is in our nature to turn and help our neighbor. You understand? And help each other, because, you know, I always say I can't live good if my neighbor ain't living good.
But you see, the thing about it with this administration, with a lot of people who have been co-opted by this administration, they like the droppings they've been getting from this administration.
When they could get so
they've
much more.
been invited to this party, they get to meet this person, that person, and to them, they have arrived, not realizing they've really sacrificed themselves and their children's future. And look, we're paying for it today. It's evident. Look around our Virgin Islands. Look at the crime rate. Look at our schools. Look at our healthcare system. Look at the amount of people on food stamps.
Look at what's happening with those who have now lost their unemployment benefits. And then we've also lost the empathy, because you have people saying they're lazy. There's no reason for them to be on unemployment. But when you have 20 people to one job, and I'm talking St. Croix, 20 people to one job, what are they supposed to do? Not everybody has the wherewithal to get up and go elsewhere in the Caribbean or even to the U.S. Because, I mean, around one-way ticket to the States alone is like almost $600–700.
Miss Hanley, for those persons, and I hope there are few, who happen to see that sentiment as if Pupandu. Because, you know the funniest thing? I was on the unemployment line. I'm not ashamed to say I used to be a client of food stamps. Because they blacklisted me. I needed to survive. And honestly, food stamp came in handy. The $241 was a lifesaver. Because when I could not pay my light, I know at least I had food in my cupboard. And the unemployment check came in handy, because trust me, it at least helped me to pay my daughter's school tuition. And I'm going to say, that's not handouts. I worked. And this is benefits I'm getting from working, and I've paid it forward, so I deserve my benefits. And those persons who are in those lines, they're not lazy. They're just going through a bad time, and they need the assistance.
And unfortunately, there is nothing happening. I know people saying we have this dependency on government and that we can't depend on government. But honestly, government is the grease to the wheel, to the larger wheel. And if government doesn't put policies in place that helps the small businesses be able to stay afloat and help money to circulate in the economy, then what is going to happen?
But let me call a few names. GMC, Chrysler, Diageo, Cruise and Rum.
Corporate welfare?
They depended on the government for subsidies. And you're telling me it's all right for them?
But not for us.
Not for the regular folk? No, something is wrong in America. And something is wrong in these Virgin Islands when we think that it's all right to give Diageo a subsidy. It's all right to give Cruise and Rum a subsidy. And we can't subsidize the
working man and woman.
The unemployed men and women are the working men and women ever so often. And that's the challenge we face, because you know, once you start to get a job and you start to make a little income, your house rent goes up if you live in subsidized housing. You cut back on your food stamp benefits. There's no transitioning off. There's no weaning off.
WAPA ain't giving you no quarter at all. I mean, you have to deal with WAPA first, second, and last.
No, think about it. That's an albatross that has been harming our community. And I'm going to tell you straight out. It came here from Clint Ferris. The leadership in WAPA needs to go. It's high time we change the leadership in WAPA. It's not that I'm anti-Mr. Hodge and anti-this and anti-that. No. We tried him. He's not working out. We're still in the same doldrums prior to his arrival. We need to move our community forward. And that means a comprehensive energy plan that also talks about a long-term solution. And one, moving WAPA from the north side, by Christiansted, put it on the south shore, and start to utilize that land right in Christiansted to generate the revenue.
But how much of that is Hugo Hodge as opposed to the board? Because he still has to take direction from the board.
Hey, Miss Hanley, I'm going to tell you this. In the Virgin Islands, in some boards, they lead the executive director, and there are other boards who set the agenda, executive director that set the agenda for the board. That board, that executive director set the agenda for WAPA. He also set the agenda for PSC. PSC don't lead him. He leads the PSC.
But then if that's the case, if we have such a, I don't know what to call, such a strong person in Hugo Hodge that he can take over the board, then that means we need to get rid of the board, because then that means that they what are they for? What are they there for?
But think about
they're supposed to be able to rein him in and say, hey, look, you are hurting our people by these policies that you want us to institute.
But think about who appoints the board.
True.
So it's one big cabal.
But you know what? That is where now it comes to our votes with the senators. And that's where I have the issue with, because these senators feel that everybody that come down stay for the one person.
Yes, we need. Let's call it name. Spampanato.
That they feel they must put in.
And
you could hear them talk and say they don't agree with this, but when time comes down for the vote,
they have not denied a person yet.
And so then
people who shouldn't have not been there.
Period. They put it in. So you have to wonder, really, where is the problem really stemming from? Are you so afraid? Are you so ignorant to the fact and blind to the fact that we are hurting?
Actually, again, our people need to stop to think about the immediacy of their plight. Because that most people think about that. It's the here and now. They don't think about tomorrow, a year or 2 years down the road. And they don't think that decision they make today is going to affect them. But it is, and it has. And our senators, and I'm going to, all 15 of them belongs to us, because there's no St. Thomas government, nor St. Croix government. It's the VI government.
Okay.
And all 15 of them sometimes are culpable. They are culpable. And at times I really want to know, where did some of them go to school? I think Milo have a phrase for that. I don't know if it's Miss
Manda School?
Miss Manda School or something. They didn't go to Miss Manda School or something like that, because
did I come up with a little bit more sense?
Say, come on! Everything that come, they're stamping it.
How I'm trying to figure out how it is we keep putting in a series of yes men. Now you have the
and
few
yes
that
women.
Yes.
Let's remember that.
Yes, let's be gender equal. I don't know how it is they get to be like that. So you have to wonder if the phrase where they say power corrupts absolutely and absolute power corrupts.
Correct. But you know, see, the problem is, you and I are going to be like novelties to some of these voters, because we're going to be seen as anti this and anti that, and we don't agree, because we have strong opinions and we happen to be learned people. But the voters, they continue to be force-fed by a small group of people. And sometimes they don't pick up a book and read. They don't read the newspaper. They don't peruse anything.
But then you know what? That's because they are purposely being kept in that state of ignorance. Because when you have an uneducated people and you keep them purposely uneducated, that is how you continue to rule. I really feel that I'm starting to hear, especially from the young people coming up, because I'm listening to my children and I'm listening to the conversations they are having with their friends and so on, and spreading the word that we are at the beginnings of a change. But I don't know how long it's going to take, but we are at the beginnings of a change, and I'm feeling that hope.
But you see, the people who are supposed to be facilitating this change have been co-opted. Let me give you a good example. We have one particular talk show host who talks big and bad. But when the Diageo deal came out, and when he was leading the teachers union, he was up there praising the deal. He's the same one who signed off the no strike clause in the teachers union contract, and now you are so much against. No, something is wrong here. There's a major disconnect.
I don't know how teachers could have a no strike.
Oh no,
I don't understand that, because any union that is your
bargaining chip.
Yes, that is where you holding the handle and they got the blade when you could strike. So I could understand that there with the emergency personnel.
No, but anyway, I'm first responders. We understand that. But I can understand that with teachers. But you know, Miss Hanley, it's been a good discussion so far. We're going to go to break and we're going to continue to go chat.
No.
And Miss Anley, the show has been good thus far.
Yes, it has been.
I would love to continue with this heavy, with all of these hard-hitting topics. But you know, we have this at least spend the last 10 minutes and well, this last topic because for the last week, there's been a song on the radio talking about the VI Nice, and it's by Pressure Bus Pipe. And I'm gonna say that sooner or later the song may be the anthem that's gonna do off Friday and Jam Band's music from the VI, because that song is very, very sweet. And I just want to spend some time talking about the Virgin Islands, whether it's St. Croix, St. Thomas, and what comes out of our shores, and what it means to have VI pride and black pride, and pride in ourselves as human beings.
It's very important. I take it even one step further. I'm never ashamed. Anybody who knows me knows I say that my allegiance lies to Frederickstead, West End till I die, then to St. Croix and the VI. I'm a Caribbean person. You understand? That's how my allegiance goes. I love my island to death. I'm a first generation. I ain't ashamed to say I'm a first generation Crucian. But sometimes I'm jealous of all of you who have all our history and so on and can trace back to Queen Mary and everybody. So I mean, my heritage is out of Nevis and Jamaica.
Okay.
You know, two very powerful heritages as well. But St. Croix is my home. Frederickstead is in my blood to the end. You understand? And it just hurts me when I see my people not living up to our full potential, because we have so much talent, so much promise here. Pressure Song, really, it exemplifies that.
Yeah, it touches, and I'm going to tell you straight out. You hear the accent, but it's all the way. I'm St. Croix to the core, Virgin Islands. You know, if you ever see me partying, because I'm a feta, and everybody knows Clint Ferry's fets. And there's two flags I wave. I've got my VI flag and my Antiguan flag, because I'm proud of my heritage, and I'm proud that, you know, my kids are Virgin Islanders, and I'm proud to be a Virgin Islander. And hey, absent birth, I'm a Virgin Islander. And I'm gonna tell you, when I heard that song from Pressure, it touched my core, because I believe in the Virgin Islands, and I love St. Croix daily. Don't get me wrong, I love St. Croix, but I believe in the Virgin Islands, and sooner or later we're gonna have to start to move away from those divisive things that our leaders spew.
Yes.
To keep us divided, so they can continue to run amok. But Pressure touched it he touched what it means to be from this beautiful soil and reside in this beautiful soil. And I'm saying, I hope it's not just fashionable because other people are waving their flag. And I hope you don't just wear it as a superficial garment, that you live what it means to be VI. I want to tell a story. I went to a barber when I went to Florida, and the barber is from here. And we had a discussion, and we were talking about moving back home. The barber told me straight out, he moving back. What was holding him back was St. Croix and the Virgin, and he's not coming back home. And he's a first generation Crucian, but you know me, that really hurts me that he could say that, because to me there's no place like HOME.
Yes, sir.
Little St. Croix is where I desire to be. I can even go to St. Thomas, I want to be back home in St. Croix. And it really touched me, and I want us to play Pressure Song. But think about it, that it's more than just the song. It's a lifestyle. When those soccer fans they live their soccer.
They take it to the extreme.
We need to live our VI.
I live my St. Croix to the bone. I love, and it's interesting that you brought that up, right? Because it was a little bit of a controversy with our flag on these public buildings, in particular one in town. You know, where to me, to see the deplorable condition that our VI flag was in, where it was just being torn to shreds by the elements, and it's on the Frederickstead Mall building, and the VI flag on the King Street side is just being torn apart. And to me, it's sad, because it's indicative of how we are really viewing our island. that if we could sit back and watch, especially the people who are entering in there, and there's government offices in there, entering in there every day and not making the move or the effort to say, you know what, that's my flag. I'm a Virgin Islander, I'm a Crucian, I need to make sure that my flag is like the best flag out of all of them.
But hold
Have
on.
respect for all the flags, but make sure that our flag, my flag, is the best one.
But you're telling me, but you're not saying it, but doesn't the flag bearer of the Virgin Islands flag reside in that office? No, but no, think about it. The flag bearer, who's the flag bearer of the Virgin Islands flag? Department of Tourism. They're supposed to be wearing the VI flag all throughout the world. And you're telling me they reside there and our flag is tattered and torn and they did not show the initiative to move the flag? Then there's a challenge right there. And it should, all our flag, there's a thing called flag etiquette. No matter what flag it is, whether it's the VI flag, the American flag, or another country's flag, we treat it with respect. And if it's tattered and torn, it's taken down, discarded in the appropriate manner, and then a new one strung up. Or you strung up a new one and then discard it in the appropriate manner. Yes, I'm not buying into the Republicans' controversy about, oh, if I want to burn a flag, I burn my flag. If I've signed a protest, give me that right. I live in this country. But we also must make sure when it's flying high that it represents and it's an extension of who we are as a people and a culture. And it's a symbol of us.
Look how proud we are to see it being flown at Sochi for the 2014 Winter
And we're
Olympics.
and it's being flown here, tattered and torn, and it's what he says about us, we are tattered and torn and broken? No, we are not tattered, torn, nor broken. So we shall not fly a Virgin Islands flag that's tattered nor torn. And I'm going to charge those of you who see a flag that's tattered or torn, call the government office up, call the school up. And if they are complaining that they don't have the money, buy one, donate one to them. And we're going to do that. Maybe we need to start to do that. When we see torn flags, point it out on ViVoices and maybe donate a flag to them to fly high. We're going to give you the first flag, but we expect that you're going to keep changing it ever so often.
Yes.
And that's going to be a charge.
Take it down, you put it up as a sunrise, you take it down as a sunset.
And you know, I do hope that this is a big weekend for us in Synchro.
Yes.
So Ag Fair, we have big things taking place. I hope we keep it clean, but fly a VI flag high.
With pride.
We're going to be in Parley Joseph Stadium with Krasav and Hume and Zouk. Karimi Zouk. Fly your VI flag. Other people will be flying flags. Bring your flag, fly it high. Carnival will come up soon, fly your flag.
Wave the VI flag.
When you go to Atlanta, don't be bashful in New York. Trinidad. Oh yes, bring the VI flag in Trinidad too. I mean, fly your flag high. And it's just an extension of who we are as a people, and we need to be proud Virgin Islanders at all times.
At all times.
And I said, Miss Anley, it was a wonderful time, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And they doubted us, huh?
I don't know why.
I'm telling you.
I think we handled ourselves
I'm telling
quite
you,
spectacularly.
hey, fire with fire is good.
Of course.
Fire with fire means more fire.
That's it. And
So-
you control, that's how you control fire, with fire.
With fire.
Yes.
So I'm saying it's been a wonderful night. And we're glad that you were able to join us this evening. We look forward to you joining us next week. Emile, Boyd, and Anne-Marie should be back. And Miss Hanley will continue to be a regular ever so often. Not just when we have a space to fill, but when we have something really good to share, Miss Hanley will definitely be with us. And we were glad to have her. Again, rock your vote. And this is the year that we really need to have a voice. So rock your vote and have a good night.
Vote like your life depended on it, because it does.
And that's my slogan.
Like your life depend on it?
Yes, ma'am. Mama sure that says
We
that.
got to.
Thank you and a good night.
Good night.